In this video, we're going to talk about the initialization of our UCCX platform. Now that we have our primary server installed, we have our call manager cluster, we're going to start initialization. But one of the things that Cisco has done over I think version 11 onward is that when you have, let's say, a call manager, let's say CM, and then you have your UCCX, you're going to have to do an integration between these two servers. The problem with this integration is that when UCCX try to communicate with CUCM, it's going to need the certificate from the call manager so that it can trust that. So to be able to do that, whether your call manager has a public certificate server on, it needs the root certificate from the call manager into UCCX before it can communicate with the call manager. So what we're going to do, we're going to generate a certificate for our UCCX server that use and also upload the root certificate of the certificate from the CUCM. Now let's go take a look at what our root certificate for CUCM looks like. So this is my call manager, and you'll see that call manager has been signed, is a secured connection. And if you click on this secure connection, certificate is valid, and this is a certificate. And it's been issued by a certificate server known as Voice Bootcamp. So basically I have my own internal certificate server, and I'm going to install the root certificate of that server into my UCCX. But since I'm going to need a UCCX certificate anyway, why not we just do that right now? So what we're going to do, we're going to log in to our UCCX. We're going to go to the platform directly. Instead of going into the main setup page, we're going to go to the IP host name followed by CM platform. It's going to be not secure, so that's fine. And we're going to generate a certificate. That's the first thing that we're going to do. Oops. So when you're in operating system, you can generate a certificate for Tomcat. So we're going to go to the security and certificate management. So we're going to click on generate. And here we're going to select the generate. Now, if you have right now we're going to say Tomcat UCCX, click on generate. And we're going to use the certificate, the CSR file that it generates to obtain a certificate from certificate authority. So you'll see a download option. So we're going to download the Tomcat. So it's Tomcat CSR 7. This is the code CSR. We're going to upload that into my certificate server. And this is currently my certificate server. We're going to click on request certificate and advance, paste that content here, and we're going to select client server certificate template. So a certificate has been generated, base 64. I'm going to download that. And if you look at the download is 21. So I already have a root certificate downloaded, which is the 20. And you can download the root certificate from right here. Download CS certificate, and this is a certificate that you need. Okay, now I already have that downloaded on my machine, so I'm not going to re-download that. Now I am ready to upload. So first thing I'm going to do is upload the root certificate, which is Tomcat Trust. Choose, and I believe the certificate is 20. Yeah, so 20 is the root certificate that I've downloaded before. Once if you do the Tomcat certificate first, and if the root is not there, it's going to say invalid certificate. So you have to make sure the root certificate is uploaded first, so that as you upload the Tomcat certificate, it's going to do a validation to make sure that certificate is correct. All right, so we got that. Now it says restart the system. Okay, we're going to do that soon. We're going to go to the Tomcat and upload the latest certificate we just downloaded, 21. And at this moment, it's better to just restart the whole server, and it takes about anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes. So while we do that, I'm going to go to my server and get it ready to restart. So this is my UCCX. So here you can see certificate has been uploaded. It's asking me to restart the Tomcat system. I'm going to say util system restart. And I will wait for the server to come back up before we can continue. Okay, so you can see the server is up and you can see my certificate for UCCX is now valid. At this moment, I can log in and continue my initialization. So initialization process will run from the web admin. So first, one of the first thing that you need is a user account from call manager that you will be using through at the end of the initialization setup. The UCCX, when you do the administration day to day, you could either use the local administrator account to log in, or you can use the new admin account, which is the end user from call manager. Most company would probably assign different user different privileges so they can log in with their account, and if in case they leave the company, you can remove them. And there's another aspect of that during the creation of a script, which we will talk about in our scripting video. So let's go ahead and do an initialization of our first step. So we're going to log in as local administrator account. And before I click on login, I'm going to go to my call manager and I'm going to create a local admin or end user known as a UCCX admin. Now, both UCCX and call manager is certified by the same certificate server. So both of them have the same root CA. Therefore, UCCX will automatically trust the certificate coming from UCM. So while we wait for that, we're going to go to the UCCX and click on login. So first thing is going to ask you is the IP address of the CUCM. Now you could either use an IP address or you could use a host name, totally up to you. So here is, I'm in my call manager. I'm going to go and create an end user account. I'm going to call this UCCX admin. For simplicity, I'll keep the password as simple as possible. I'm going to say admin UCCX, and nothing else is required in terms of privileges concerned. Now, I'm going to, I can add another account that will be a Excel account. But for now, I'm just going to use an administrator account to log in. So, okay, I have created the end user in my call manager, as you can see, UCCX admin. Now I'm going to go and log in here to the UCC HQ UCM pub, bbcpod2.com. You could use IP address, but the fact that I'm using domain name, my DNS is configured, my certificate is there, I should be able to use the host name. The username is going to be administrator, and password is also going to be my usual password. If it cannot communicate, it's going to give you a warning error message right here. So if your certificate was not trusted, or you did not upload the root certificate of your call manager, it will give you an error. You won't be able to come to this page. So your license type, IP-IVR or versus UCCX. Now IP-IVR meaning that if you apply an IP-IVR license to this server will become an IVR platform for Cisco UCCE Enterprise. Whereas if you want this server to act as a full-fledged contact center, we will choose UCCX. So here you got the license, flex license, perpetual, enhanced, or premium license. We're going to use something called NFR, which gives us full license to test for, I believe, 60 days. So click on enable and proceed. So once we do that, you click next, you apply the license, then you do an initial setup with you can apply a username that is going to act as a new admin, but initially you have to log in using the local administrator account. Depending on the version, sometimes the screen capture screens might change. So again, depending on the version, feel free to go through that. It's going to activate some of this component, which is going to be depending on your license, whether some of these components available on your license or not. It applicates a publisher. It'll tell you which server is your publisher. And now here we're going to configure, this is very important, which call manager you want to register to, what is going to be your JTAPI IP address. Usually the publisher, one of your subscriber will be acting as JTAPI provider, and another one will be acting as, let's say, backup. You could also provide the publisher address, totally up to you. So both I am a JTAPI user, JTAPI provider, and RMCM provider will be the IP address of your call manager. Now, as we select the IP address of the call manager, we must specify the username that I want UCCX to create in the call manager. And it's going to create two usernames. First is JTAPI. This username will control the JTAPI communication, which is signaling mostly CTI route point and CTI ports, as well as JTAPI communication. RMCM is going to manage the agent phone and the queue statistics or stats. So these two accounts will be created in call manager and under application user. The necessary privilege will be assigned to it. And it does so because we provided the username and password of the AXL users. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with our initialization. So it's giving you saying, yes, license has been applied, blah, blah, blah. Click next. It's going to activate all these services in whichever order it does. As you can see, it's activating. And once you complete full activation, you will then go to the next stage. Okay, all my services has been activated, a component has been activated. So what we're going to do, click next. And now we're going to activate the publisher. So you can tell you HQUCCX is the publisher. So it's going to activate the historical data store and forgot the other one. So it's going to ask you what is the primary call manager AXL provider. So 21 is my publisher, 22 is my subscriber. I will bring them in. I'm going to bring both of this IP address for my JTAPI subsystem, where it's going to communicate to CTI manager. And I'm going to create a user account called JTAPI and the password that you want to use. For RMCM, is going to communicate with the call manager RMCM, which will be the both pub and sub. And again, if your subscriber is your primary, you can kind of switch them around. That's perfectly fine. But I'm just going to keep it simple right now. RM user and the password. So click next. Next, you're going to select some license, SIT license plus the language. And the last, you're going to select the user account. Now, this user account is going to be the admin account that you want to use for day-to-day administration. Okay, so number of direct previews, outbound seats, 6. Again, maximum limit is 6. Codec, whatever the codec you want to use. I'm going to keep that same as it is. Next is going to choose language. We're going to choose US. And last now is going to pull the user account from the UCCX, from the CUCM. So I'm going to choose UCCX admin, and I can choose any of the other account as well. There's no, you don't have to use only that. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to finish. So now my initial integration is done. So once this is done, there are certain system parameters that you may want to change if you want to. Again, for example, the codec or some other options. We're going to go through step by step in terms of what needs to enable. After the initial integration, we're going to enable something called Subsystem. Subsystems allows you to run multiple engines such as ACD engine, JTAPI, RMCM engine, which is for managing agents, queue. You got database engine, you got email, etc. So CM telephony subsystem is probably the most important engine, which will basically send and receive calls, messages from the call manager, CTI manager into the UCCX. To enable that, you already provided the IP address of your JTAPI through our initial setup and the RMCM. JTAPI integration, you got a couple of options. Provider, we already defined the provider with the initial. You can configure the control group, the trigger, synchronize the data, synchronize JTAP, and some advanced settings. Then RM subsystem, this is the subsystem that is responsible for managing the agent and their phone and their status of those phones. Under the RM subsystem, you can configure skills, resource, which are agent, group, assigning them to group like sales and support, your queue, provider, assign skills, many other options. Chat configuration allows you to configure the chat related settings with social miner. And then of course you have outbound subsystem that is to deal with outbound dialing, campaign, and whatnot. Database says without going, it is for connecting with the external database. And currently it may support, latest version will support more databases. Email subsystem was used to define local email server. UCCX can only send email, cannot receive email directly. However, you can configure Cisco Finas to communicate with email to receive email if you need to. Media subsystem that deals with DTMF time dialog. It creates a media channel between the UCCX and the caller once the media has been established. Mostly used for DTMF or ASR or text-to-speech environment. ICM subsystem is only available if you choose the licensed Cisco IP-IVR, and this subsystem is to communicate with Cisco UCCE Enterprise. All right, so that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and log into our UCCX and see where we are. So it's telling you that installation is done. I'm going to log out. I will log back in, but this time I'm going to log in as UCCX admin. Okay, so I'm logged in. No backup has been configured yet. If I go to my call manager under application and user, application user, I should see the two account created, JTAP and RM users. If I select the JTAP, it will tell me that this is the group it belongs to. If I select the RM, it will tell me that it belongs to these groups, which are used by agent for many reasons. All right, so now that I have my phone and I want, if you look at my configurations, I got quite a bit of 3-4 phones here right available. Let's say I want to make the first two phone my agent phone. What I would do, I will assign them to the RM user. I will make sure that those phones are added to the system. So because you want the UCCX to manage these two phones. So I will select these two, save. If you do not associate the agent phone, because you could have 5,000 phone in your organization, if you do not associate those agent phone to this user account RM, what's going to happen is when agents try to log in, it will give you invalid device error. So I have my agent phones there. Now, obviously, you have your users, end users, HQ1, and you see the HQ1 has HQ phone. You have HQ2, which will have second phone available. Now, if I select the HQ1, you'll notice that it has something called primary extension and IPCC extension. The primary extension is assigned to whatever the primary extension of the user. IPCC extension indicates that this is an agent phone. This user is an agent, because you could have 5,000, 10,000 users in your Active Directory or corporate directory. They're not all going to be an agent. So only selected people are going to be agent. But how do you decide that? Well, if I go to my UCCX under RM resource, right now you'll notice that I don't have any resource, meaning I don't have any agent. So to configure them, I have to specify that HQ1 is an agent, and I'm going to save that. When I do this, I come back here, refresh. Now I have an agent. So this is basically the initial steps of initialization and integration with Call Manager, CUCM, and UCCX. Now, remember UCCX communicate with the Call Manager using CTI ports, which are the logical channel. So after in your subsystem, we already configured the provider, which is basically the IP address of the Call Manager that's going to be pointing to. Next step is to create a call control group. there are two type of call control group you have, inbound and outbound. So you can create, you must create a call control group for both, either type, depending on whether it is for outbound only or inbound as well. So I'm going to create a one called help desk, CTI ports. We're going to call this help desk. Number of port will be 4. Group type will be inbound. Now, as you can see, if I am creating a port for receiving calls, it's going to be inbound. Device name, we can call this help desk. Okay, directory number, it will has to start with a directory number 3201 and device pool and all the other settings. So if I click on add, what's going to happen is if I go to my call manager under device, go to phone, right now I got 5 records here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on add, and it's going to create 4 CTI ports in my call manager. And these CTI ports will be registered by the UCCX server. So as you can see, it's creating those ports successfully. If I go back to my call manager, click on find, I should see those 4 port created. And as you can see, they are registered by the UCCX server. Now I am going to, because I have done initial step, I'm going to go to system, go to server. Remember, I have a secondary server. I'm going to add the secondary server IP host name. HQ UCCX, which is a secondary. That basically now I'm ready to continue my secondary server installation. So remember I said that my secondary server got stuck here, and I'm going to click on review. Okay. Same thing, you just quickly go through it. Now, the secondary server is about to, start the installation again. But to make this guy secondary, what I have to do in my UCCX, I have to go to service parameter, serviceability page, which is the backend configuration, or the system related configuration. There I have to specify who's going to be my secondary server. So under tools, so I have to come to the UCCX serviceability tools, not necessarily the call manager. So here on the tools, so make sure you're on the UCCX, because there are 2 serviceability. You have to come to the UCCX, and there you're going to go to tools menu and go to service parameter. So service parameters, select the primary, select the AMC service. So here you get the primary collector and failover collector. So the primary collector is going to be UCCX, failover collector is going to be the secondary server. So basically that's all you really need to do is enable UCCX in a high availability environment. Of course, you need the license as well. So whether it's not saving right now, so if you take a look at your license to make sure that you do have a license for it. But I'll come back to you when we have the secondary server installation is complete. Now under tools, you got the data control, where if you need to do a replication, you can check the replication status here. So far it looks good because we don't have a secondary yet, so you don't have to worry about there's no replication server. If you need to restart the services, here you'll come in, restart the engine. Sorry, not that one, right there. If you need to restart the engine, you will select the option and click on restart. All right, now we will, like I said, come back to the administration of it as we go through it. But up until now, I do have my basic contact center integrations done. And if you need to go to the Finas, you can select the navigation, select the Finas administration. It will take you to the Finas page of it. All right, so that's the initialization of UCCX with Call Manager. And now you have a platform ready for your deploying your contact center. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.